DJ Humphries gets extended, and Isaiah Simmons and Nuke Hopkins go at it in training camp. All of it right now.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Alex Clancy. I'm the host of Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for joining me. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Excuse the absence from yesterday. Had some computer issues. Now back. And ready to talk. A lot of things to talk about. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free and available on all platforms. You can also check me out tomorrow on Locked On NFL Thursday with Tyler Rowland of Locked On Titans, where we'll talk more national stories. There's a bunch to talk about. Again, sorry I missed yesterday. I'm going to jump right into it. DJ Humphries with the contract extension. Talk about that in the second segment. What does that mean for the Arizona Cardinals on and off the field? Isaiah Simmons and DeAndre Hopkins go at it a little bit during training camp. There's a bigger meaning there, and I'll talk about that in the final segment. But first, Hollywood Brown gets pulled over for criminal speeding earlier this morning. I think it was around 7 o'clock this morning on the 101 here in the Valley. We had some sort of issue like this last offseason with Zaven Collins. Listen, moving to a new place, not knowing the rules of the road, and I know that everybody should obey the speed limit. Nobody should drink and drive. Nobody should be driving inebriated in any way. And this Hollywood Brown wasn't. But, it's open here in Phoenix. It's wide open. It's spaced out. We're in the desert. I mean, obviously we're in cities, but we're in the desert. And there's certain spots that yield the potential to drive a little bit faster than others. And I'm in no way defending Hollywood Brown. It's just, it's a culture shock. You're in a different state. You're here for a couple months. Does not condone his actions whatsoever. What does it mean? Luckily, nobody got hurt. Again, don't speed. Obey the speed limits. But all in all, it just adds another little, to the Cardinals offseason. It's something that needs to be acknowledged, something that needs to be discussed briefly. But luckily, again, nobody got hurt. So if you didn't see, Hollywood Brown got arrested early this morning for criminal speeding. This just came out, so we'll keep our finger on the pulse of if there's any sort of thing levied. But don't speed. And I don't think this is going to be a big issue going into the rest of training camp and the preseason and on into the regular season. But it just, as the Arizona Cardinals offseason as a whole, if the Cardinals go through the 2022 season and, they win 10 games and it shows, they're growing up as a team, they're getting better. And when it comes to, and I'll get to that in a second. Thank you for the question. When it comes to this offseason, going into camp, where there was a lot of storylines about Kyler Murray and, DeAndre Hopkins getting suspended, then Hollywood Brown coming in, was Rodney Hudson going to play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just shows that there's room here to show growth for the Arizona Cardinals as an organization. Because there's been a lot of things, there's been a lot of outliers that would kind of curtail the smooth transition into the offseason and then into the regular season in 2022. Okay? With camp, and I'll pull this up. Thank you for it. Thanks for hanging out. This has to be the weakest of all Locked On podcasts. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. What the hell is going on in camp? Players are showing up, players are practicing, and players are vying for spots. That's what's going on in camp. I'm talking about what Hollywood Brown did earlier this morning, which could have a direct impact on the regular season, which I don't think it will. I'm going to be talking about the DJ Humphries contract extension next, which has a direct impact on the Arizona Cardinals moving forward on and off the field. And I'll be talking about Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins going at it in the third segment that happened in camp yesterday and how that is a positive thing for this organization. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. So just to put a button on this thing with the Hollywood Brown and the offseason for the Arizona Cardinals as a whole so far, it's been, storyline infused. It's been potent. There's been outliers that aren't normal with this much prevalence from the end of one season before another season even starts. And we'll see what the Cardinals are made of going into 2022 with all these storylines, kind of looming. Kyler Murray with him not watching film. Marquise Brown getting pulled over for criminal speeding this morning. DeAndre Hopkins, PED suspension. Is Hollywood Brown going to jump in and be the wide receiver one like people hope he will? Because come next offseason, he's going to want a contract extension. Rodney Hudson's back. Kyler Murray's blind side is going to be protected with DJ Humphries through 2025. So, yes, camp is important. And what my job here is to see bigger pictures of what's going on and not, there were 3 completed passes today at camp. I don't really conduct my podcast like that. I'm not a beat writer. I see what I see. I react to what's seen and what I deem to be important. And what's important right now is camp is still in full swing, okay? There aren't huge storylines coming out of camp, so I'm talking about what actually happened today, which is Hollywood Brown getting pulled over, going substantially faster than what the speed limit would allow on the 101 here in Phoenix. Coming up next, something substantial happened yesterday. DJ Humphries got a contract extension. He's going to be the Arizona Cardinals left tackle through the 2025 season. Why this is so big for so many different reasons. I'm going to talk about that next. First, really excited to have this podcast to be sponsored partly by BetterHelp, okay? Everybody goes through struggles. Everybody goes through problems, and life is full of twists and turns, and it's important to show up for yourself through all of it, okay? I have gone, there are multiple times in my life where I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with my life, okay? I don't know what to do with my life. I'm struggling, and I ended up going to therapy multiple times in my life. And BetterHelp online therapy will assess your needs and can match you with your own licensed professional therapist in less than 48 hours. I can't understate how important therapy is at times when you need it, okay? When I was in college, I was down and out. I wasn't going to class. I was failing classes. I wasn't going to work. I was just in a bad spot. Ended up going to therapy, was there for years, and it really got my life back on track, and it got me kind of pivoted to where I am today, okay? BetterHelp, it's not a crisis line, okay? It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online, available to people worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. That's huge. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to be. And getting therapy every week is as easy as a few clicks on your laptop or phone. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid's available. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, they're recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. And they've got a special offer for my listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's 10% off your first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/lockedon. All right. Second segment, Locked On Cardinals. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. I appreciate it. I'm trying to make this the best podcast possible. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Send me a DM if there's a topic you'd like to hear. If you'd like to hear more about specific things, I'm here to discuss what you'd like to watch/hear. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Comment. I want to revisit this really quickly. Q James, what's going on in camp? I see bigger storylines as more important still as we get closer to preseason games kicking off. That's why I frame these shows right now that way. And I appreciate you watching, by the way. But I feel like I think that the Marquise Brown thing, the DJ Humphries contract extension, is more important than, because this is the situation we're in. We pretty much know the majority of the starters. Whether it be the offense is set, okay? There may be some movement on the interior of the offensive line, but the offense is set, and the defense is pretty much set. There's a couple corners that could get starting time that aren't Marco Wilson and Byron Murphy to fill out the 3 or 4 that are going to be on the field the majority of the time. But by all accounts, all we need to see from camp is growth and not really jockeying for a position. Cam Thomas, Majai Sanders has stood out a little bit at this point, but it's not like, oh, the Cardinals have got an absolute steal and this is going to be a Pro Bowler. Camp is to kind of get a feel for new guys and to see guys like Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons take that step forward. We're not going to see it until the preseason and regular season where we can really have real data on if it's going to work or not. So instead of projecture, I'm talking about something that happened and the consequences that could potentially happen. Just like with DJ Humphries, where he signed the contract extension yesterday, and it was a 3-year extension, 66.8 total mil, 34 million guaranteed, 21 million in year 1. So the reason why this DJ Humphries contract extension was so important to me, it's not because DJ Humphries is the best left tackle in the NFL. That's not it. You have to give kudos to Steve Keim because this is the second contract extension that DJ Humphries has gotten that's been a little bit shorter and very team-friendly. Okay? DJ Humphries had a down year last year. But DJ Humphries is a top 15 left tackle in the NFL. It's not like he got $80 million guaranteed. It's not like he got Trent Williams money. He got the amount of money that a top 15 left tackle should get. And this is something, and I say it a lot, there are few players on the Arizona Cardinals roster, maybe a couple more now since this offseason started, that are set and forget. Kyler Murray, Rodney Hudson, Budda Baker, DeAndre Hopkins, Zach Ertz, and then DJ Humphries you put in there. There are very few of them. So when you can add another one, that's a good thing, okay? Not only for on the field, but off the field. Stability-wise, strength of foundation-wise, that is very, very important. And DJ Humphries, he's a Cardinal, man. There are very few, seriously, look at the roster right now. There are very few, that's a Cardinal. Drafted by Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Kyler Murray, the guys that have really shown Pro Bowl potential. DJ Humphries is another one. And you hope that he's going to play the left side for Kyler Murray's entire career. That's what you hope. And he plays up to the level to warrant him getting even another contract after this when this one expires at the end of 2025. So I don't think it was that much money. 34 million guaranteed. So 21 million in guaranteed in year 1 of the contract extension. I think it was a home run. And yet, if he stays healthy, that's going to be another great Steve Keim contract extension signing. And I know that I give Steve Keim a lot of flack. I know that I question a lot of his thought processes and plans, but this was an out of the park home run. He knows Kyler. He knows the offense. He knows Sean Kugler. He knows Arizona Cardinals football. And the more guys that you can get that know Arizona Cardinal football, that haven't known any other way, that's a good thing. And it's something that is multi-pronged positive. Again, before we move on, DJ Humphries contract extension. Team-friendly, player-friendly, stability strengthening regarding the foundation of the Cardinals, and now another set and forget guy on the Arizona Cardinals starting roster 1-22. And that adds up to a home run win all across the board. Isaiah Simmons and DeAndre Hopkins get into it in camp yesterday. What does it mean? I'm not going to say what you think I'm going to say. It's a positive thing. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. We'll talk about it next. First, betonline.net. I always talk positively about betonline.net. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online source for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, podcasts. They've got you covered. Go to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Marquise Brown arrested earlier this morning. DJ Humphries extended yesterday. Isaiah Simmons and DeAndre Hopkins get into it at camp after a heated play. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Remember, I will be doing halftime shows live at halftime of every NFL game, every Cardinals game during the 2022 season. Come check it out. I'll answer questions. I'll recap, hopefully mostly positive things from the first half of every Cardinals game this season. Isaiah Simmons and DeAndre Hopkins get into it at camp. This is like Isaiah Simmons was quoted after saying DeAndre Hopkins is like his big brother on the team. But what I saw from this is passion. What I saw from this is people remembering how 2021 ended and the responsibilities necessary in an effort for the Cardinals to take that next step. And Isaiah Simmons, as I've said the majority of this offseason, is the most important defensive player the Arizona Cardinals have regarding their growth on the defensive side of the ball. You know what you're going to get from Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. You kind of know at this point what you're going to get from Byron Murphy. We've seen the spectrum at least. You know what you're going to get from J.J. Watt when he's healthy. You don't know what you're going to get from Zaven Collins at this point because we haven't seen enough to really have the range of what he's capable of. But with Isaiah Simmons, we've seen enough to know that if what I call the oh my God moments have more potency, the Cardinals could take that step forward on the defensive side of the ball. He's being played at safety. What I hope for Isaiah Simmons, and what I hope for Isaiah Simmons through Vance Joseph, is that they give him two jobs and not have him be the Swiss Army knife with different packages needing to play in different spots. You want him to do one or two things great and not three or four things averagely. That's what you want. And Isaiah Simmons showing this passion during camp, that is the maturation of a young football player with all the talent in the world and all the brains growing up. We're seeing it. We're seeing it. He's growing into an NFL football player. And it's something that these are little things that I do take from camp where it's like, okay, this is different than it was. Something's different here. And sure, it's potentially one microcosm of a larger scale thing where we're starting to see Isaiah Simmons coming into his third year being a guy like, oh, you can trust this guy in the middle of the field. You can trust this guy. When it's not just, goal line stops against Derrick Henry and Trey Lance and just catapulting Cam Newton when he was with New England his rookie year. That ended up, causing the Cardinals to lose a game on a 15-yard penalty, which shouldn't have been a penalty. But we've seen enough from Isaiah Simmons to say, the ceiling's there. Let's see if the potential matches it or shatters through it. And he becomes a Pro Bowler like you hope because, yes, he's built in a lab. The dude is an absolute specimen. Smart, fast, hits hard. He's a guy that if he hits, this defense will be completely different. This defense is already crazy fast, crazy athletic, especially adding Cam Thomas and Majai Sanders in the draft. But if Isaiah Simmons can take that step forward, if that passion from him chesting up with DeAndre Hopkins transitions into the regular season, and you see that confidence in Isaiah Simmons, this defense could be top 12, and that's really what you want when you're projecting the Arizona Cardinals offense to be top 7, top 8, maybe with DeAndre Hopkins out the first 6 weeks. I mean, we'll see. But if the Cardinals defense can be top 3rd in the NFL, they could definitely make some noise this season. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for hanging with me. Sorry again about being out yesterday, computer issues. I will be back live tomorrow talking about camp a little bit, talking about Kyler Murray, and kind of formulating what we're going to be looking for in the preseason for the Cardinals, because it's that game. I mean, it's that thing. I mean, the Hall of Fame game is tomorrow. Like, the offseason is pretty much over. What are we going to be looking for the Cardinals during the preseason? I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, among other things. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for hanging with me. I'll talk with you tomorrow.